Going on, boys? NealGuides here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to go over some meta strikers in the Premier League. People have been asking me about this series, so I thought I would do it. We're going to start off with Premier League strikers. Now, I'm only going to go through meta players, and what I mean by that is, let's say you got a team right now. I'm only going to tell you Premier League players that you can put into your team that will make a big difference. Now, there's certain things that will naturally improve the way that you play. The first thing is a 5-star weak foot. Even if you think a 3-star weak foot is good enough, it's not. The way to increase your your chance in front of goals to score more goals is to, of course, have someone who's got a 5-star weak foot. So you can shoot on either foot. And don't forget, even if you've got like 99 shooting, a 4-star weak foot is then 4/5 in theory of that. You can argue the weak foot has been buffed a little bit, but I don't think it's still good enough. That's the first thing. The second thing is agility and balance. These things, two things combined, if you give this to the average player, let's say a goal 3 player, they will naturally score more of their goals without changing their gameplay. So that's the biggest change and difference. We're going to go through the players first. So the first one I want to go over is Jota. Now, obviously, he's got a 5-star weak foot, 4-star skill moves, and of course, his card got released and got upgraded as well. So this is one to watch. You can buy the inform variation that came out just a couple of weeks ago, actually. But a top tier card. He does need a hunter though. The reason why is, number one, you want to increase your shot power. Shot power is important because most of the time you need to do a power shot. Don't worry about finesses. Normally outside the box, simple power. Finesse shot is fine outside the box, like here around this penalty arc. But when you're inside the box, a normal power shot will suffice. That's all I use, just power shot. That's literally just pressing. If you're pressing circle to shoot, just pressing circle like that, and that's it. Get the shot power, finishing, attack positioning. Get the sprint speed up and top tier agility and balance, so you can maneuver on each foot. And if someone is defending against one foot, you can go to the other foot. So again, the top tier player for the price of 200k. If you have a low budget, you can always use the left wing variation and move him to a striker in game. This one is currently not on the market because don't forget he moved clubs. So we do have the Liverpool version, so you can buy this for a couple of k. That's one card I'll suggest. The next card I'll say is for Richarlison. Now Richarlison is a bit taller, so if you like players that are a bit taller, this is 5'11". I would again go with the same thing. The difference is what I would say is I'll go with the finisher. The reason why is the agility and balance is not that good. Generally speaking, the taller the player is, the more kind of truck-like they'll feel on the ball. Therefore, to compensate that, you normally have better agility and balance. I know I would rather neglect these stats and then prioritize agility and balance for dribbling. Now, obviously, composure has an impact on dribbling, tiny bit, but it's more to do with finishing. And that's why composure is important. That's why players like Mbappe, the composure is not that high, neither the shot power, and he's got the 5-star weak foot. That's why he does struggle in front of goal. High, 5'11", 5-star weak foot, 4-star skill moves, has the physical presence. This way has 99 finishing, 98 shot power, and also has the agility and balance boost. It is a bit expensive coming at 745, but it definitely is a card that's worth it. The base card is alright. When the game came out, he was usable. Now I would say I wouldn't really go towards, just because even when you put a finisher on him, I think he's not that good, and there's cards like that are better off that we'll go on to in a second. And of course he lacks acceleration, and then even with the finisher, he still lacks the balance. So 5'11", it's agile, but not agile enough, if that makes sense. And don't forget the body type. Is it somewhat important? Yes, he is average. So it's not the best, but it's not the worst either. Then we go over to Bruno Fernandez. Now, I would say if you got the team of the year, he's actually not a bad card to use in striker. I would personally slap on either a finisher or hunter, should I say, or an engine. Simply to get the agility and balance up will be a good feature, but I would say a hunter. The reason why, you maximize the sprint speed and you maximize the finishing. Now, this is the thing. If you've got Bruno Fernandez in your team, he's 4-star, yes, but he does have outside the foot shot trait, so he can use his right foot in a weak foot situation. But the question you're going to ask is, well, isn't he a cam or can you use him in CDM? Yes, you're right. The centre mid in CDM, he's good. But if you packed him on treadwell or he's your best player in your team, you would use him as striker. If I had a team, for example, with R9, then obviously, or Neymar, they would go ahead of Bruno Fernandez, okay, in striker. But if Bruno Fernandez is your best player, let's say you got like, I don't know, let's say you got gold Richarlison in striker, you'd obviously move your best player in position. The most important thing is have your best player in a strike position. So Bruno Fernandez is not a bad card. For the lower tier cards, I really wouldn't go for a striking type option. Maybe if you got like this headliner card, you could go as well with the hunter. But at that point, his finishing is not the best, and even with the boost, you expect him to be on 10 chemistry. So do bear that in mind. So if you do got the team of the year, he could be a good card. It's the same thing with KDB. Kevin De Bruyne, his team of the year card again. He can also play in striker. Lacks agility and balance, but he does have a 5-star weak foot. But I would say definitely play him in striker if you have him and you have him in centre mid. You haven't got a good striker, play him there instead. That's a quick NealGuides quick tip. One other card I want to look at is Mane. Now, the freeze card is probably what is it? Is that what it's called? The freeze promo? Probably one of the better cards. I would probably go with either a Hunter or I would go with a finisher. It depends on how you want to do it. The second option you have alternatively is a Hawk, because that way you get a bit of both worlds. You get the physicality and you get the finishing shot power and you get the sprint speed. He's got naturally good balance, 5'9", low high, 4-star, 4-star. Even though he does have a 4-star weak foot, he doesn't really have the outside of foot shot trait, but he's still a good striker. So you want someone to finish the goal, I'll get him. At 1.6 million, he is a tad bit expensive, but I would push towards maybe an icon level like Dalglish, Bergeron, towards those kind of players if you have a Premier League team, because obviously you can get icons in any team you want. I'm not going to say someone like Neymar because obviously he's not a Premier League player, but an icon like Dalglish, even Prime Moments Owen has now got a 5-star weak foot that I found out from my good friend Sovereign. But apart from that, the gold card is actually a really good card. Now, I would probably use him in striker, and again I would put a finisher on just to max out that finishing. The only problem is that shot power isn't that good, so what you could do is you could put a finisher on him, and that way you got the shot power up as well. Composure lacks a little bit, but I think as a striker he's a good option for the lower tier. Then we go over to Heung-min Son. Now Son is, in my opinion, the best striker in the Premier League, because if you want someone that's agile-ish, not the most agile, but agile-ish, someone who's got the physicality, work rates, and the presence, he's the card to go to. You put a Hunter on him, he's an exceptionally good card. Sonaldo, as I used to call him back in the old days, 96 shot power, 91 composure, 99 finishing. The agility balance is not the best, do not get me wrong, but he's still a top tier card. If you want to, you can put a finisher on him and you can make him a bit more agile. 4-star, 5-star, 5-star weak for as a finish shot trait as well, so even better. High height, unique body type. He does feel a bit better. Good stamina, can play as a cam, striker, winger, can play anywhere. In fact, if you have a budget under 50k, I'll say definitely go for his base card. Base Son has always been known to be one of the best strikers in the game, especially when the game comes out. That's the reason why he was that expensive for a very, very long time, up until December. Simply because he's a very good card. You start him in the left wing position, move to strike with a Hunter, and he's a very, very good card. So if you haven't got the money to buy some of the top tier players, you can of course buy the 88 or the 89 that are actually not that bad. So if you've got a Premier League team, I'll definitely recommend considering the 88 card. 89 is a bit too expensive, the headliner version, but definitely go towards the 88. Left mid, you can play him as a left forward, but ideally some on the left, room to strike in game. Another card I want to look at is Bergeron, another underrated card that I suppose you can say kind of goes under the radar. He's got an outside of foot shot trait, although he does have a 4-star weak foot. Medium high, he is stocky, that's the only downside, but because he's got really good balance, it kind of forgoes that. It kind of depends on what you want to use. Can use Hunter is what I would probably say to get his sprint speed up, but you can argue the same thing kind of goes with, you put a Hawk on him, you get the agility and balance up. Personally, me, I would probably go with I was considering maybe a finisher just to get that agility up as well, to maximize that agility and the balance. He's 5'10", so he's not the shortest of players, but because he's got a stocky body type, I'm trying to overcompensate by that by putting the finisher on him. And of course, you max out the agility and balance, and you do have that composure as well. One other cards I want to go over is Rashford. Now, Rashford is known to be a very, very good card. In fact, Rashford's left foot is actually really, really good. He's also been known to be one of the best cards in the game, medium high. I wouldn't really play him in striker unless I had no trust. I mean, if I had a cheap Premier League team, I would say Son, gold card, and Rashford are two cards that I'll definitely use in a striker. I'd probably put a finisher on just to get that balance up, but the benefit of him is he has got a 5-star skill move. So if you do like to use Elastico and all those Lamborghini spins 5-star skill moves, he's definitely a card that you can put in your team, especially for the scoop. You do the ball roll scoop, stuff like that. He's a very, very good card. When a finisher gets his finishing up and his shot power. Now, he is expensive, do not get me wrong. You can see, for example, upwards of the other cards. Now, I would be honest, just take the 88. Don't go for the 89 in my opinion. Just take the 88. Take him. He's much cheaper. You put a finisher on, you're going to get almost the exact same thing anyway. So I'd save a bit of your coins. You do have the striker variation, which is not a bad card as well. Compared to the 88, if you're going to be playing him off chemistry, ideally get the 87 instead. That way you can put a Hunter on him and maximize those stats. But if you can't afford that, the gold card is equally as good. So definitely a card that I'd recommend getting in a strike if you haven't got the best budgets. He is a bit more on the clunkier side, but he plays much better in game. One of those players with the kind of in-game secret stats, I suppose you can say. Not in-game secret stats, but they play better than the card really portrays it to be. So balance lacks a little bit, but also quite good on the ball. Very, very good weak foot, good skill moves, and finishing is top tier. Then you have the unorthodox cards like Saka, but for 1.6 million coins, you can get someone like Ronaldo, but you put I would say more towards a Hawk is what I would say. The only issue with cards like this is because they're lower tier cards, you ideally want to max out the stats. Something like a Deadeye will be a bit better. Now the only issue is Finisher is probably the best thing that gives you plus 15. So Finisher is what I would go with, because don't forget Deadeye doesn't give you plus 15 anymore, and Hawk only gives you plus 5. So Finisher is probably the best that you can really use. And of course I think he's a good card. 4-star. Hasn't got outside of foot shot trait. Now there's other cards you're going to say to me. You're going to say, well, what about Aubameyang? Now Aubameyang, for example, is a decent card, but the issue is he's too clunky. That's why I've actually left out a lot of these cards, because a lot of these cards, they are usable. I'm not saying they're unusable, don't get me wrong. There's so many good strikers you can buy in the Premier League. But the difference is someone like Salah, for example. It's all people always say, oh yeah, Salah's good. I use him. He scores goals for me. But when push comes to shove, if you're up against any good guy, even though Salah's got amazing stats, 3-star weak foot, whenever I'm up against Salah, I always push him on his right foot, and he never finishes against me. So it's kind of fine and dandy if you're facing someone in Division 6, Division 3, even doesn't know what they're doing. But against the high echelon players, they're going to know where Salah's weak foot is, and they're going to push him on his weak foot. I think that's been the most common things that I've been seeing since FIFA 18 days. So that's one thing that I'd bear in mind with him. That's why I would say go for at least a 4-star weak foot minimum. But as I said, there's other cards out there. There's even the card like Giroud. Now, Giroud is not a bad card, but then again, he lacks the agility and balance a little bit. It's improved, but he lacks the sprint speed. So you have to find a good combination. A good combination of sprint speed, agility and balance, and finishing and composure is the best. Players like Aguero, they're a bit too slow. Obviously, the flashback Aguero no longer exists. I don't want to go through that. Players like Sterling are honestly not that bad. The only issue is he has the lack of the weak foot. That's why I didn't include him. And then you have a few other cards like Bernardo Silva, maybe Mahrez as well, the one that I missed. And Mahrez is not a bad card. But for the price of 190k, don't forget this is the SBC that's expired. We go down to the 87. Once you go towards the 87, it kind of reminds me of the FIFA 19 Mahrez. He's more of a winger, and I think at that point, even when you put a hunter on him, he doesn't get the shot power or the finishing as good enough to play him in striker. That's why I omitted a lot of the cards that are still very, very good cards. But in my opinion, on the lower tier budget, just go with Son or Rashford. On the higher tier budget, go with Rashford. I would say go with Heung-min Son. Of course, you have that Richarlison card, and you can have that Mane card as well. Players like Vardy, not that bad. A lot of these cards, they're not that bad, but I said there's better cards. That's why I've only gone through the tier 1 tier, or the so-called meta cards. But that is pretty much it. There isn't really anyone else you can really move in opposition. There's a few other cards that are here and there, but there's nothing really that really stands out. But that is all the Premier League meta strikers, as I mentioned. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget I do stream on twitch.tv/NealGuides. Link is down below in the description. Stream schedule is still a bit sporadic, but I'll be streaming whenever I can, of course. Thanks for watching, boys. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time.